Welcome to the first category of products we will be tossing, pesticides. In my personal and professional experience, I have found that pesticides are absolutely the most dangerous product that we have in our homes. Ironically, years ago, I was so ignorant of this fact, even when I was using food as medicine and eating all organic food. I lived in Houston. Some people call it the bug capital of Texas. And I was having an exterminator come every 3 months. Didn't really work that well because I still needed to use Raid and other bug killers. Having an exterminator and using pesticides was the obvious answer. It's easy to think pesticides are safe though, or else why would they be allowed, right? But sometimes it takes very extreme circumstances to wake us up to the real truth. When my son was 10 years old, he was severely injured by an exposure to a mix of banned and legal pesticides. And guess what? Today, 2 of those pesticides that were legal then are now banned, diazinon and dursban. Think about this. The words pesticide, biocide, fungicide, and mildewicide all end with the suffix "cide." Cide means to kill. These chemicals are designed to kill living organisms. The problem is we're alive, and the beneficial bacteria in our gut responsible for our immune function are very sensitive to pesticides. It is so important to realize that when we are exposed, whether we're in our homes, workplaces, or in our food, even at low levels, pesticides impact our health in many ways, often, unfortunately, without anyone making the connection. We must understand the nature of pesticides, and when we do understand, we will be proactive and use only safe alternatives. Why is removing pesticides so important? Well, since pesticides are the most dangerous products we store and use in our home, getting rid of them is really an exciting opportunity, and it's so beneficial for everyone, including your pets. You may be a fortunate person and live in a part of the country where there is less need for pesticides. But the following information is important because we all go to public spaces and may run into exposures. I'm going to talk about 7 ways pesticides can affect our health and share a few examples. Number 1, low-dose chronic exposure to pesticides can negatively impact the respiratory system. Studies show that over a lifetime, pesticide and herbicide exposures pose added risk for developing breathing disorders like asthma, COPD, emphysema, and bronchitis. And it's estimated that 1 in 13 Americans have asthma, and asthma is the #1 chronic illness in children today. What I'm saying is, your child's need to use an inhaler may be related to the can of Raid or Hot Shot under your kitchen sink, or even the disinfectant you may keep in your bathroom. Yes, I mention disinfectants as many contain EPA-registered pesticides as the killing agent. Number 2, pesticide exposure has been directly linked to cancer. For example, young children exposed to pesticides in the home are more likely to develop leukemia or lymphoma. Infants and toddlers that crawl on the floor are especially vulnerable. The herbicide Roundup is the go-to weed killer for American lawns. Think about all the children running through the neighborhood. It has been directly linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, yet it is still being sold. It's pretty crazy and ironic that we see advertisements promoting spraying Roundup on your beautiful lawn, while at the same time on another station we might be hearing about the Roundup class action lawsuit. Number 3, pesticide exposure has been directly linked to neurological conditions. Studies show that the risk of having Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and suicide are significantly higher in districts with greater pesticide use. Glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, that we use on our lawns is also the most widely used agricultural chemical in history, and it has been implicated in neurological conditions. The chemical has been banned in Germany, Vietnam, and many other countries. We need to follow suit. Here in the United States, pyrethrum-based pesticides are the most used in homes today. They are used extensively by exterminators as well as for mosquito control. Unfortunately, they are touted as non-toxic because they come from the chrysanthemum flower. They are found in many pest control products labeled safe, including the very popular Nix treatment for head lice. This means people are applying the same pesticide being used to kill roaches, mosquitoes, and other bugs on their child's head. These pesticides are neurotoxic. They impact the brain. I worked with a mother who wanted me to help her figure out why her child had suddenly started having headaches. He had not had headaches before, but he continued having chronic low-grade headaches for months after the first headache. We were only able to directly trace the onset of the headaches back to the application of Nix after the mother treated her son again. Upon application, he had immediate excruciating head pain. She connected the dots from the first treatment. She was so upset as the teacher was telling the parents that Nix was the product to use. She became an activist, determined to spread the word, as her son had been so miserable, missed out on a lot of activities he loved, and they spent money going to doctors trying to figure out why he was having headaches. Another example, I had a client with neurological issues that had tossed the toxins. She had dramatic improvements, but her tremors were still present. After visiting her home, I found she had not removed herbicides, numerous pyrethroid-based pesticides, and high VOC paints from her attached garage. After removing them, her tremors were gone in 3 weeks. So don't forget, harmful chemicals stored in attached garages can impact the air quality of the home. In this case, removal was a big win. Number 4, pesticides and herbicides can be endocrine and thyroid disruptors. About 105 pesticides have been directly linked to endocrine disruption, including insecticides belonging to the pyrethroid family. That's the pesticide that's used extensively for mosquito control. I've had numerous clients that couldn't conceive, give birth to healthy babies after stopping extermination, removing pesticides and other toxic products from their home. We were able to link one woman's multiple miscarriages to high levels of pesticides in her water supply. Many clients with hormonal disruption completely normalize. No more cramps, no more PCOS, no more PMS, no more endometriosis, no more bowel issues associated with periods after tossing the toxins. Number 5, pesticides are obesogens. These are chemicals that have been linked to weight gain regardless of what you eat and how much you exercise, as well as metabolic syndrome and diabetes. One of the best documented groups of chemicals with obesogenic properties are pesticides. Glyphosate, found in our non-organic foods, has been declared an official obesogen. Many people have reported unexpected, spontaneous weight loss after they tossed pesticides from their diet and their homes. My son's experience opened my eyes to this. He came down with strep throat right after his big pesticide exposure. The emergency room doctor ascribed the symptoms he was having to strep throat. I've had numerous clients tracked to pesticide use and the onset of illness. One woman called that kept coming down with flu-like symptoms every 3 months like clockwork. After questioning and investigation, it was finally connected with the quarterly extermination of her church on Friday. I recommended she skip church on extermination weeks, and that solved the problem. But think of all the other people who don't feel well and don't know why after they've been to a recently treated area. Clients with herpes, Lyme's, Epstein-Barr virus, etc. have discovered that their dormant viruses are activated by pesticide exposure. Pesticides disrupt and kill healthy bowel flora, just as taking antibiotics disrupt the bowel microbiome. Would you believe that glyphosate, the most used herbicide on our food and the active ingredient in Roundup, was originally patented as an antibiotic? It has been shown to kill good bacteria and encourage bad bacteria to grow. Eating non-organic food gives us a continual dose of antibiotics to our gut, the seat of our immune systems. So, if you've heard that eating organic isn't important, my experience with my son, clients, and studies prove this wrong. One study had subjects eat a conventional diet for 6 days, followed by an organic diet for another 6 days. By testing urine samples before and after going organic, researchers found huge drops in pesticide levels. After 6 days on an all-organic diet, overall pesticide amounts dropped 60.5% in both adults and children. The most noteworthy statistic was a 95% drop in malathion, which is a pesticide associated with brain damage in children. But it's not just exposure to pesticides in food that affect bowel function. Several of my clients with gut issues did not turn around until extermination treatments were stopped and the house was cleaned specifically to reduce pesticide levels. One lost bowel control right after an exterminator applied pesticides to her home. That helped her connect the dots. Another was hospitalized for gastric disturbance and a bowel obstruction right after a pesticide was applied. That got her attention. We know that it can be hard, though, to connect the dots because not everyone experiences the same symptoms, nor does everyone show signs of impact at the same time. For some, it can be immediate, and others, it could be years later. Earlier, I mentioned the child that started getting headaches after the application of Nix as a lice treatment. I worked with several other parents that initially ascribed their child's gastrointestinal symptoms after applying Nix to food poisoning. One was throwing up and intense stomach pain for 3 days. The same symptoms repeated even more severely after the next application of Nix. So in those cases, the Nix was directly linked to gut disruption. We must wake up to what is happening. It is our responsibility to spread the word and take action once we know better, so other people won't suffer. Now, let's get these toxic pesticides out of your home. To start, take a cardboard box and gather everything in this category. There is no need to read labels because there is no reason to keep a pesticide. Check under sinks, drawers, cabinets, closets, and don't forget your attached garage for the following: roach sprays like Raid, herbicides, weed killers like Roundup, wasp sprays, ant sprays, insect repellents, bed bug repellents, foggers, mold killers, fungicides, mildewicides, disinfectants with EPA-registered pesticides, flea and tick collars, treatments, and shampoos, flea bombs, termite treatments, lice treatments, and shampoos, mothballs, rodent poisons, and commercial fertilizers. Now don't worry, this does not mean that you have to live with a bunch of bugs. We have plenty of safe and effective alternatives in our resource section, some that even work better than toxic pesticides. So after you've gathered the pesticides, take the box out of the house and safely dispose of it when you are able. Take them to a hazardous waste site in your area, which can be found by typing your zip code into earth911.com. Put the pesticides in your trunk when you take them so that you are not exposed while driving. When you get home, open your trunk and let it air out for several hours in the sun to get rid of the pesticide, if the weather permits. See our resources guide for more information. We also provide cleaning protocols for reducing pesticide residues that linger in your home from your previous treatments. After you take these steps, you should feel really great about the work you've accomplished, because by removing pesticides from your home, you have made a huge investment in your family's future health and well-being. And we'll be saying this over and over again. It's up to us to take proactive charge of the health of our families. Remove pesticides from your home and eat organic as much as you can. You won't regret it.